Good morning and welcome to the Sports Carnival live from the Trauma Center studios. In the words of Brittany Griner's cellmate, it's time to strap it on. Now here's your host, Dave Carney.
What up, everybody? Welcome to the Sports Carnival, broadcasting live from the Trauma Center studios, powered by the Recovery Room. Boy, oh boy, Chad's got jokes. You've been coming out firing all week long. Let me tell you what, you're starting to go viral, my friend. I don't know if in like with the virus or something, but you're going viral.
Brittany and I are getting along very nicely.
You know, she got that sentence. We were joking about this the other day, but she got that sentence upheld. She's going to be over there for like a decade.
It sucks. But probably bringing drugs to Russia is not a good idea. Just,
no.
Anybody traveling, don't go there with drugs.
What did she have? Like a tincture of like CBD oil or something? It was really a very innocuous thing. And when we say drugs, what are we talking about? Not vodka, of course. We're going to set that one aside. Like actual Russian rot gut vodka, totally fine. But if she's got a tincture of CBD or something, that one's a bridge too far. Listen, this is why I can see why so many people are like affectionate to Russia. I'm kidding. What the fuck? Like, this is just such bullshit.
Well, that's fine. You could argue the merits of whether it's, innocuous or not, the substance. But the bottom line is understand where you're at.
Fair.
Okay.
Fair.
Understand where you're at. You're going into Russia. Isn't that not kind of known already? You know what I mean?
Listen, I'm not
you're
saying
in California.
you're wrong.
I get it. Smoke up. If you're in California, if you're, whatever. If you're in Russia, maybe just, play it a little closer to the vest. That's all I'm saying.
Listen, and I'm not saying that you're wrong, because you have to take the laws of the land into consideration, right? You're always working within the laws of the land. I get that. But I'm not even sure that this was smokable anything. I have a feeling from listening to the story, if I go back to it, there was some sort of edible or an ointment or an oil of some kind. Now, again, time and place. You're in Vlad's Russia. You better just go ahead and sack up, because this guy's, listen, he's got a different way of approaching things. So there you go. Hey, Chad, we had an impromptu party last night at the Recovery Room. Matt, the owner, said, Dave, I want you to invite some P1s over. Watch some Bucks basketball. Boy, the Bucks had a great game. I can't wait to get into this one.
Yeah.
Watch some Bucks basketball. Watch some Badgers volleyball. So the Wisconsin Badgers just defeated the reigning national champion Nebraska Cornhuskers in straight sets last night. And Chad, let me tell you, it was a beautiful thing to watch. The Wisconsin Badgers volleyball team and the Nebraska volleyball team, two of the best in the country. Nebraska was 1, Wisconsin was 5 coming into last night. But what a beautiful contest. And like I mentioned, the Badgers get them in straight sets. It was a great evening. So the Badgers won and the Bucks won. I did not catch the Badgers volleyball. My bad. Even though Big Ten Network, baby. I actually have that, and I saw it, but I was like, I don't know if I can watch that, okay? Because the whole time I would be thinking about what happened in the locker room, and it was too distracting. So I stuck with the Bucks game. Great game. Giannis played exactly like the last time I watched him. First half, I'm like, dude, you need to be a little bit more aggressive. He apparently listened to me. Not that he's listening to me. And he dominated in the second half. Sure did.
Putting up 34 of his 43 points in the second half. And there was this one play. I love the fact that he takes it coast to coast. Not that that's different nowadays for 7-footers, but he comes down and he does like a Kyrie Irving crossover and then finishes at the hoop. And I'm just like, this is a 7-foot freak that can play like a guard.
That's why they call him the Greek freak.
I know, but it's just every time you see it, though, it's like it just blows your mind. I mean, when you think about old school basketball and you think about that's why, I think a lot of these GOAT conversations start to fall apart. It's that these guys have just gotten way too advanced with the physical attributes that the old guys may have had. You've always had 7-footers in the NBA, but you've never had 7-footers that can shoot and dribble like that.
No, that's fair. That's fair. And I think a lot of this, Chad, goes back to the fact that they didn't let those players do that back in the day. We've talked about it with respect to three-point shooting. Larry Bird took 646 career three-pointers, right?
649 he made. 649
he made. Excuse me. So he took over that, obviously, maybe about 1,400. So he made 49 career threes. If he would have been allowed and given the green light that Steph Curry, that Trae Young, that some of these cats now are given, boy, we could have just you might have been able to put away that record for all times. It's not to say that Steph Curry, who's an all-time top 5 point guard in this league, wouldn't be right there, but I don't know that they wouldn't be capable. They just weren't allowed to do it. Pistol Pete Maravich was looked at crazy by like every single coach that he ever played with until he went to LSU and started racking up 44 a game. But I agree with you. The way that Giannis plays the game, and I want to get into this more when we talk about the Bucks, because you're right, he's just so dominant. The way that he is dominating the game more and more, though, Chad, and this is evidenced by everybody that's watching him, all the former pros, and last night it was a great cast of announcers. Everybody that's watching this kid is seeing the development of his game. So that's going to be a lot of fun. We've also got, and I've just got to get this table set, we've also got a lot of other fun coming up this morning. You guys want to win some money? I know that you do. And I see we've got a new Facebook user popping up. Not sure who this is because you're not named here, but welcome to the program. If you want to make some money, new Facebook user, John, our sports betting insider, is going to join the Sports Carnival's carousel at 8:30, and we'll be talking to JD, not about one game, Chad, but about 4 games. We've got a couple in the NFL. We've got a couple in college football. So stay tuned, 8:30. John Denton going to help you get your winnings straight. I also want to shout out our friends, Kyle Cable, OneTrust Real Estate, the official real estate partner of the program, Preferred Insurance, Mike Garcia, once again, duck hunting. I know he's tuning in, but he's duck hunting. Chad, it is a beautiful, if crisp morning here in the Cooley region. So he's having a good time. Todd Vercruzzi, not sure if you're a hunter too, but Todd, top of the morning to you. And of course, Preferred Insurance, Anthony, Tony, Brian Sandmeyer, the official insurance provider of the program. Joe Sampson, who is with Helping Hands Landscaping, again, did make a purchase of a pooper scooper. So no longer does Helping Hands Landscaping have to by hand pick up your poop. But if you need lawn care or removal, you know who to call.
He bought a pooper scooper so he doesn't have to pick it up by hand.
Well, it was Helping Hands at first, and then he thought, really, I should just make this $12 investment into a pooper scooper. Done. And now it's still Helping Hands. He just won't do that particular thing with his hands.
Well, otherwise it'd be Stinky Hands Landscaping or Sticky Hands Landscaping.
Yes.
So you got to be mindful of these things. Good point.
All right, so it was Neil Duda, the new Facebook user. Neil, awesome to see your name pop up. You know who else popped up last night? Bailey Kale. Good for a party, maybe not so much for a morning radio spot. But we've got some music that we could probably sneak in from both Neil Duda and Bailey Kale. Stay tuned. Sports Carnival broadcasting live from the Trauma Center studio. Back in just a bit. I can't imagine a week going by without going to the Recovery Room Bar and Grill, 7th and Mississippi Street in downtown La Crosse. I'm serious. If you know me, you know that my favorite restaurant, not just my favorite bar, but my favorite restaurant in all of downtown La Crosse, Wisconsin, is none other than the Recovery Room Bar and Grill. Whether it's their burgers, their pizza, their wings, their gyros, their prime rib, or their fish, it's all good. And the wait staff, my gosh, some of the friendliest and coolest people that you'll ever meet. Matt, the owner, great friend of mine. The Recovery Room, 7th and Mississippi Street. I can't go a week without it. How about you?
Hello, this is Professor Fission for Nuke and Nuke Light, the world's first nuclear beer. Brewed and nuked in 1956 and recently found in Warehouse 14. How's it still fresh, you may ask? Well, thanks to our friends at Cesium-137, Stromium-90, and Plutonium-239, these beers will stay fresh for another 90 years. Not only does Nuke and Nuke Light have 10 times the kick, but you're sure to be a hit at the party because it helps your urine glow in the dark.
Nuke and Nuke Light. Pick up a case today before it melts through your grocer's floor. And Duluth Care. Yummy.
This is the Sports Carnival broadcasting live from the Trauma Center studios. Remember, if I agreed with you, we'd both be wrong. Now here's your host, Dave Carney.
Hey, man, I use this one all the time, and I think I stole this from you, but if you've stolen from me, you've stolen twice.
I stole that as well.
You did. So we've stolen that 4 times. We got a lot going on today here on the Sports Carnival. I see we've got some new friends just checking in this morning. Marengo Mike is checking in from Marengo, Illinois. Mike Byers, everybody's favorite Texan from La Crosse, checking in. Mike, we did talk about the Wisconsin girls beating Nebraska in straight sets right as we opened the show, and you missed a heck of a watch party for that one last night, man. It was a really, really good time. Jim Tim, which is Jimmy the Haggerty of Stone Distribution fame, said, sorry I couldn't make it last night. Go Bucky. It's okay. We're going to have more of these outings as the weeks and months progress on, of course, at the Recovery Room. And then Marengo Mike, who is also, again, as I mentioned, from Marengo, is asking, what about Bob Ibeck today? No Bob Ibeck today. We'll have John Denton on the program today. Bob will be joining us tomorrow morning at 8:30. And the reason that we wanted to wait until Friday, Chad, to get Bob on, and this was your call, it was a good call. We've got the World Series starting tomorrow night. This evening, Thursday night football. So we're going to bring our former NFL, college, arena, CFL QB, basically anybody that gave John a check he went to play football for. We bring him on tonight. So we can get ourselves prepped for some football.
Him under the bus.
No,
Gun for hire.
Listen, John Denton is he's like a poor man's Dan Orlovsky, right? Like he's our Dan Orlovsky.
A poor man's Dan Orlovsky is a double shot. That hurts a little bit.
Dude, Dan Orlovsky got to play 10 years in the NFL. Dan Orlovsky was also on that winless Lions team. I think Dan Orlovsky, God, didn't he get sacked in like the end zone? What was that thing that Dan Orlovsky did 12 years ago that just happened again?
I don't remember that.
There was some play that Dan Orlovsky like only made, and then it took a decade plus for somebody else to make the same boneheaded mistake. Needless to say,
I did see Dan Orlovsky calling a game. This was this year.
He's good.
He got thrown off, and he stumbled or something, and then he just paused and he goes blah 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 or something. It was hilarious.
Is that right? See,
yeah.
Listen, I love Dan's takes. I think he's great on SportsCenter, on NFL Live, or whatever it is that he's on the ESPN television stations. I like it. Yeah, he stepped out of the back of the end zone. Thank you. And
let me bring this real quick. Let me bring this Morning Wood back up here because
this is good.
Dave, are the Lakers going winless on the season? Worse at choosing players? Jordan with the Wizards, Kwame Brown, or LeBron with LA? Good questions.
So first of all, there's a lot to unpack there, and I love this one. So Morning Wood, let's just take it like this. The Lakers won't remain winless this season. What they may remain winless against, though, Chad, is the spread. Because the Lakers, and I've said this since the very beginning of the season, and last night it paid out again. The Lakers are a team that you need to fade against everybody that's even marginally good. Last night against the Nuggets, the Lakers were tied at half with Denver. And then they did exactly what you would anticipate, collapsing in the third and the fourth quarters. They can't shoot the basketball. The Lakers cannot shoot the basketball. Matter of fact, the Lakers, I saw a stat this morning, are off to the worst 4-game start of 3-point percentage shooting in the history of the league since the three-pointer became a thing back in 1979. So will they ever win? Yes. Will they ever cover the spread? Hard to tell. This is fucking awesome. This is going to be trending like really, really soon. Hashtag Westbrook, hashtag street clothes. You know, last night I'm watching AD, and literally every play this guy goes up for, it looks like he's coming down injured. Every single play.
I feel bad for the guy. He's just one of these. It's kind of like Zion. I don't know if it's everybody that goes through New Orleans or what, but
basically
they just have a tendency to injure themselves. And the other one I liked is this one. Hashtag deadball bitching.
Yes.
We need to get this rolling.
Yes. We can definitely get this trending. And I need listen, we need some help from you guys out here. So Matty Ice, Fritz, the future sheriff, Leinfelder of La Crosse County, Morning Wood, Soul Surfer, aka Jason Breacher, and everybody that's on our new Facebook group, which we're broadcasting live to for the first time. Help us make this a hashtag that can actually go. Dead ball bitching. Unfortunately, we got to take off the exclamation point. We'll take off.
I was trying to be emphatic. I was trying to be like.
I feel you. I don't know that exclamation points track with the actual hashtag. So I'm just, you've been off of Twitter for about 6 years. I'm not going to kill you for that. So this is new. I think we'll take off the exclamation point. But listen, that's what Luka Doncic was great at. Do you know who doesn't do dead ball bitching?
Who's that?
Giannis Antetokounmpo.
He does not.
Giannis Antetokounmpo doesn't do dead ball bitching. As a matter of fact, even when he gave Patty Mills a gentle shove to the neck last night, which Steve Nash wanted an unsportsmanlike conduct, and he got all hyped up about. Even when he does that, Giannis doesn't go over to the refs and bitch and moan and complain. And he's European, right? We were talking about this European style of play where it's a lot like soccer. And you had Vlade Divac, the flopper in chief, and now you've got Luka Doncic, who looks like Larry Bird, except for yaps like I don't even know who to compare him to. And you think maybe that's okay, not Magic. He didn't complain that much.
Go back to the tape. Speaking of guys that complain a lot, I got one more. Okay. I think you guys are going to really like this one. And I understand the exclamation point thing, but just go with me here. Okay. I was just happy I got the nomenclature right with the hashtag part.
Yes.
Hashtag shut the fuck up, Rogers. I think this may be more applicable.
You know
this
what?
guy needs to stop. Joe DeGuano yesterday said it, and I've seen a couple other national guys say the exact same thing. Yeah, it's great for Pat McAfee, and all that's great. But, dude, you need to just shut up. You need to stop going on those shows and just shut up.
Chad, while we've got this, this shut the fuck up Rodgers hashtag on screen, can you pull up a little meme that we made yesterday? Because it felt like we got an early scouting report from the Bills and the Packers game. Again, the Packers play on Sunday Night Football in Orchard Park versus the Buffalo Bills, who are by every metric this season so far the best team in the NFL. Aaron Rodgers says this could be a great thing for this Packer team, right? Because everybody's going to count them out and nobody is going to really think that they're going to win because they're not. This is the scouting report. Rodgers needs his ayahuasca and a nap, and Jordan Love's like, oh shit, I might have to play. Because let me break this down for those that didn't hear what Rodgers had to say, and I'll go ahead and try to paraphrase as much as I possibly can. Rodgers said, in essence, the guys that are making mistakes shouldn't get reps. We should start taking away reps from the guys that are making mistakes. Cool. Has anybody watched Aaron Rodgers play football this season? Because I have. And I was there in person against Chicago. Do you know what he was doing? Throwing balls in the dirt, overthrowing guys by 10 yards. Say what you will. Offensive line, it's all their fault. The wide receivers, they're so stupid. I can't believe they even got drafted. They must be horrible football players to be in the NFL. They've just got to be awful. But Aaron Rodgers is without reproach. Aaron Rodgers is without fault. And here's a really, really, really hard left turn, because I know the other guy's not playing well, but boy, he is really taking this well. Russell Wilson.
Yeah.
This morning, we've got a poll question about Brady and Rodgers. Go to @Thw Sports Carnival on Twitter, because I want to know which of those two guys you feel is playing worse. But Russell Wilson, to his credit, is playing the worst football of his entire career. Do you see him going to the post-game press conferences blaming anybody else but Russell Wilson? Do you see Russell Wilson out there saying, well, obviously Nathaniel Hackett can't coach, and these guys don't know how to play football. I'm great. I'm a league MVP. I've won a Super Bowl. He's been to twice as many Super Bowls Russell Wilson has than Aaron Rodgers. Yeah. But you don't see this guy, for all of his successes, saying, their fault, their fault, their fault. Tom Brady, to his credit, is playing some of the worst football of his career. You don't see him deflecting all the blame. The thing with Rodgers, if you're truly, and I hate to use this phrase because it doesn't apply nowadays, but if you're a man's man, or if you're just somebody that's about integrity and standing up and saying, you know what, I'll take this one because I know it's better for the greater good. If you're about any of those things, this Aaron Rodgers that you see today does not land well with you. And I will say, Chad, much like Washington State, where you're from, in that area, a blue-collar portion of that state, right? People go to work, they get their lunch pails, they don't bitch, they don't complain, they go get their job done, they come home. That's what Wisconsin is. And I think it really bothers Wisconsin fans when the team that they don't just like but love is being represented by somebody who feels like they're a bit of a Baylor here and sort of a finger pointer all to everybody else except for themselves. It just doesn't feel like it resonates with Wisconsin people, from my estimation.
No, not at all. And I just want to say hats off, kudos to your graphic skills. This is, you nailed it. I love the baby face. This is great. I love the ayahuasca drop. That's awesome. And yeah, you know what? That picture you got of Jordan Love there, I'm thinking that's exactly how he's feeling. Like, it's like, careful what you wish for kind of thing. You know what I mean? Because if they do decide to, I don't make an excuse and say something about Rodgers' thumb and sit him or whatever, and Jordan Love has to go in the game, I think that's going to be even worse. You know what's interesting about this game? So Rodgers in his career has never been a double-digit dog, and I think that right now it opened up at 10.5, and now it's at 11 points against the Bills, which is just absolutely unbelievable. And going back to what you were saying about Wisconsin people and liking guys that take their lunch pails to work, watching Giannis last night, I know we're going back and forth, but I think it's relatable. Watching Giannis last night, the Bucks playing, he played amazing, scored 43 points. There was an interview that they threw in there of Giannis talking about how he wants to be the greatest role player of all times.
Wow.
And he said it with a straight face. So he actually believes in his head he's a role player.
He is. His role is to be the superstar.
Yes.
Right? I mean, no, seriously, that is his role. Kobe Bryant said the same thing in an interview once. He said, I want to be the greatest role player. What's your role? To be the superstar of this team. But for Giannis, this is something, Chad, that really goes to the heart of where we're at with sports right now. The dichotomies are so great. On one hand, you've got a player of unique talent and unique abilities who's bailing on his team, Aaron Rodgers. On the other hand, you've got a player of unique talent, of unique abilities, who is rising to the occasion, rising to the challenge in every single way, shape, and form possible. When the going gets tough for the Milwaukee Bucks, and this is something that I've just been so heartened to see since I've moved here, this team does not just go, they get going. They had to move on from Jason Kidd, who ended up doing a really nice job as an assistant for the Lakers, and he's doing a pretty good job for the Mavericks too. It's not that Kidd couldn't coach, but the mix wasn't right. Giannis, as the head of this beast, though, is such a perfect player for the Bucks, a perfect player for the fans of the Milwaukee Bucks, and somebody who I think, as this career of his continues to go deeper and deeper, he is going to be one of the top 2 or 3 most beloved Wisconsin sports figures of all time. And it's not to say that Wisconsin fans are just all about that basketball, right? It's really a football state. But I think that the way that he handles himself, the way he approaches the game, and also the unbelievable success he has brought to a Milwaukee Bucks team that was thought of to be largely a laughingstock 6 years ago, it's incredible.
Yeah, it is. And I do think he aligns and resonates more with the Milwaukee type of or not Milwaukee type fans, but Wisconsin type of fans, as you mentioned. And it is interesting to see that contrast. And then you can also do that contrast with Aaron Rodgers and, of course, Brett Favre as well. Totally different attitudes, totally different ways of handling their business. You know, you were talking about Russell Wilson. Russell Wilson's, they're traveling over to London to play the Jaguars. He apparently is doing high knees on the plane while they're traveling.
I saw that. That.
It's those little tiny things that you pick up. And again, I think more of this is about Aaron Rodgers just divulging too much. And he backed himself up and says, I know there's a lot of people out there that think I need to shut up and I need to, but this is how we do things. I like to air these things out. I want to have these conversations, these tough conversations.
Right.
So that is the right thing to say. But I think less is more in this situation. When you're struggling like this, normally this was back in the day and this never happened. This kind of stuff was in the locker room and stayed in the locker room for the most part. I mean, you're not even getting this through a reporter. You're getting this straight from Aaron Rodgers' mouth. It's like there's no interpretation really needed. You can just kind of glean exactly what he's saying and where he's coming from. And right now, it's not painting a great picture, especially in the situation the Packers are in.
No, and one of the things that I think you, me, and a lot of others really dislike is, as just human beings in general, you see something with your own 2 eyes, or you hear something with your own 2 ears, and you're in a collective where, like, say, other people have heard this or seen this too, and the person who says those things tells you it's not true. That really, it rankles your senses in such a way, because you know that you heard what you heard, you saw what you saw, you're not a stupid person, you've got faculties, hashtag shut the fuck up, Rodgers. Here's something else. And Chad, I got into a little bit of trouble for this back in the day when I was still working with an FCC regulated company.
Okay.
But I said that Matt LaFleur was a cuckold.
Wow.
I did. I said on air, I said, Matt LaFleur is a cuckold. And I said that in the first season or 2 of his becoming a coach, because what Aaron Rodgers did on the Pat McAfee show, again, not to beat this dead horse, but this is still very much in the now, in the present. What he did on the show was not only indict players, he indicted his coaching staff. All of them, because what he says is similar to what it would be like if, say, you're a salesperson and you're in a good sales company and you're out there, and you were a pretty good salesperson last 4 years, 5 years, maybe you were the best salesperson. All of a sudden now, your product or your management sucks. And opposed to going into your office and saying, hey, we've got to fix something, what you do is you go to the companies next door and you say, this guy's horrible. He's terrible. You're essentially throwing these people under the bus in every single way, shape, and form you can. I'm not suggesting, Chad, that those conversations about players and about their abilities and what should and shouldn't be cut from them aren't conversations that should be had. But I do not believe that they should be had on the sphere of spectacle, right? On the Pat McAfee show. It just doesn't feel like, what are these players supposed to say? There's no reporter there for them to get a response from. What's Matt LaFleur going to say? Again, the guy's kind of a cuckold because he has to say, oh, I didn't watch the whole thing, but I'm sure that Aaron was being very nice to me. And I'm just so grateful to have a job. And Aaron's so dreamy and, really whatever he wants to do, I'll do it. Well, cool, Matt. Like, that's great. And good for you for sticking with your modus operandi of just being a little bitch. but go out there and be the coach of this team. And that's the other thing Packer fans want. I'm the coach of this team. This is what we're going to do. We're going to run the ball 30 times a game, and this is how we're going to do it. Now, if LaFleur can't do that, well, then that's something that Brian Gutekunst, the general manager, and Mark Murphy need to figure out, because that's the other thing. It's like telling a boss when you're Aaron Rodgers, these people suck. Like, they don't know that. Like, they're incapable of figuring that out. So you're telling them they don't know what they're doing. Well, if this is the case and LaFleur can't coach, well, Brian Gutekunst, Mark Murphy, they need to figure this out.
Yeah, and again, we contrast it with Giannis and Morningwood. He says Giannis is everything that's good about sports: great player, great teammate, good person.
Yeah,
agreed. And I don't know if you can say the exact same thing about Aaron Rodgers. And it's not that it almost seems like everybody wants to hate him, and I don't want to hate him. I really don't. And I don't hate him, but I think a lot of people would agree with this. He's not making it easy. No, he's not making it easy to like him. Let's put it that way.
No, he's not. And Joe DeGuano brought this thing up yesterday on the program. And if you missed out, go back and check it out on Facebook or actually probably on Facebook and YouTube, two best ways to rehash those things. But Joe mentioned that really in the COVID, in the COVID, whatever we want to call it, debacle, he sort of splintered himself from Packer fans and really from a lot of different NFL fans for just not owning his shit. Okay, think what you want about Kyrie Irving. Think what you want about Andrew Wiggins or any of these folks that said, I'm not going to get vaccinated. Now, Wiggins ended up getting vaccinated. Irving didn't. Okay, so say what you will about those guys. But at least they came out there and told you exactly what it was. Aaron Rodgers was being largely deflective. At the very least, he was being largely deflective. If we're going to be frank and honest about it, he was lying to people. He just straight up lied to people. And I don't care what you thought about the vaccine or COVID or anything. That's not the point. Just be about your thing. If you're going to be about something, be about it. If not, then what do you look like but a wishy-washy sort of a person, which makes it hard if you're looking from the outside in to know what to believe and how to really treat this person, right? So for a lot of reasons, Aaron's really sullied this reputation. Now, he needs to win. And that's something I saw a Facebook user pop up here with. Sorry that we don't have your names. I totally understand the 11-point spread, chat, against the Bills, but this is the NFL. Be careful. Be careful if you bet against Green Bay. I wouldn't make that play. I'm not going to lay 11 points against the Packers. I agree with this take here. The NFL is not college. And when we talk to Denton coming up here in just a few minutes, we'll get into some college football, and there are some larger spreads. USC, Michigan versus Michigan State. That's different. In the NFL, I'm with you, Facebook user. I don't think I would lay 11 points against the Green Bay Packers because they are up against it and they are painted into a corner.
But at the same time, Josh Allen can toss up 5 touchdowns and score, and rush for 100 yards and a touchdown as well. So it's definitely in the realm of possibility they lose by 3 touchdowns. I'm not saying that's happening. I wouldn't touch this with a 10-foot pole. This is one of those, they're suckering you in my opinion. And it'll probably be closer than 11 points, but I would not be shocked if it was over.
It's going to be hard to say. It's going to be hard to say right now which Packers team shows up. The defense for Green Bay has been good in spots. You look at the metrics and you can say, all right, this looks like it's a pretty good defense. But then in the second half of most of these games, they give up the goat and they let teams right back in it, as we've seen in 3 consecutive weeks. And really and truly, we saw this with Bailey Zappi and the New England Patriots. So that was a narrow victory, but one that the Packers were able to squeeze out in overtime. The defense, it's an issue. I'm concerned about this game on Sunday Night Football. I'm not going to bet it, but I am concerned about it.
Well, that's the other thing. And I know these little nuances, but there is a thing about primetime games, and Aaron Rodgers does pretty well in primetime games. So that's another thing to think about. So you do have Sunday Night Football. You got everybody watching. Again, I'm not going to say, it would be great if the Packers end up winning. I don't think that's going to happen, but I think that it may be a better showing than
people
the 11-point spread. Yes.
Yeah, I can
stay away from it, in my opinion.
Yeah, I can see that it may end up being a better game because, we'll talk about with John Denton coming up here. We'll ask him this question. As a quarterback, as great as Aaron Rodgers is, what kind of extra motivation does being under 500 on the road in a national spot give you? I wouldn't be one of those guys that's like, yep, I'm quick to bet against Aaron Rodgers. But at this point, this Buffalo team is looking good. And really quick before we head to break, because I know we're going to have JD, Facebook user saying Ben Simmons doesn't belong in the NBA. That's not a misstatement right now. I watched that game. Dude, Ben Simmons, and you heard Kyrie Irving on the court yelling at him, shoot the ball, man. He just wouldn't do it. He just wouldn't do it. All right, stick around. We're going to get you guys some free money here with John Denton, former UNLV quarterback. We're broadcasting live from the Trauma Center studios. This is the Sports Carnival. The official lending team and mortgage partner of the Sports Carnival is the Midwest Mortgage Team of Land Home Financial. You know I like to tell a joke or two and play around, have fun. But getting a mortgage is no funny business. Don't play around with your finances. Call my good friends Michael Garcia and Todd Vercuse of the Midwest Mortgage Team at Land Home Financial today. Whether you're buying your first house, maybe you're buying your second house, maybe you're a seasoned real estate investor. Midwest Mortgage Team, Land Home Financial, Michael Garcia and Todd Vercuse. Give my good friends a call today. They're the official mortgage team of the Sports Carnival. Now more than ever, if you're looking to buy or sell your first home or perhaps an investment property, you need a full-time dedicated real estate agent who is up to date on all the latest trends and analysis and is ready to give you the kind of service that you deserve. That's why the official real estate agent and the official real estate partner of the Sports Carnival is Kyle Cable of OneTrust Real Estate. Whether you're looking to buy or sell your first home or perhaps you are a seasoned investor, call the official real estate agent partner of the Sports Carnival, Kyle Cable of OneTrust Real Estate.
This is the Sports Carnival live from the Trauma Center studios. Remember, Jesus loves you, but everyone else thinks you're an asshole. And here's your host, Dave Carney.
Humada. Jeez, we're just coming out firing here today, baby. And for those that are watching us on our new Facebook group page, welcome aboard. I don't know that our Facebook group page watchers, I don't think that their names are actually coming through.
I've noticed.
But keep it coming because we are just loving all the interaction this morning. We're also live on Twitter at The Sports Carney, on YouTube, The Sports Carnival, on Twitch at The Sports Carney. Your Sports Carney mix is everywhere pretty much that you can watch live broadcast. Coming up next week, Chad, we're going to have an all-new audio-only way for listeners to engage with the Sports Carnival. We'll tell you about that. Let's bring aboard our sports betting insider, former UNLV quarterback, John Denton, to the program. JD, I am loving this background. So this must be your new office.
Oh,
it is. Yeah, it's not a virtual one either, right? So
no green screens. Gotcha.
That's it. No green screen here.
So, JD, real quick, for those that are uninitiated or maybe forgot, where do you live in Iowa? Because we get this a lot. They're like, your friend's from Vegas. And I'm like, yes, he's from Vegas, but he lives amongst us in the Midwest now. So what part of Iowa do you live in?
Yeah, I live in the smallest portion of the southwest part of the Iowa state you could possibly get to. So I'm literally on the border of Missouri, Iowa, and Kansas.
Wow,
so
okay.
It's down in that, they call it the Mink, Minnesota, or the Kansas, Missouri, Iowa.
Interesting.
All that stuff right there. So it's a town called Shenandoah, little small town. It's the home of the Everly brothers.
No kidding.
Wow.
That's
something to brag about.
I tell you what, man, those dudes had no holes in their soul. Go back and check them out. The Everly brothers, hitting it right here. So, John, let me get to this before we start bringing up your picks, because we've got a couple of slides, and you've given us 4 picks with some really good research behind it today. So if you're out there jotting this down, and this goes for Rick the Silver Fox, get ready, get your whiteboard and your eraser, dry erase marker ready. But before we do that, what's the favorite pro team of your region? Is it the Chiefs? Is it somebody else? Like, who do you guys as a region tend to root for there?
Oh yeah, it's big time Kansas City here. It's only an hour and a half drive from my house to the stadium. So folks pack up. They're either going to Nebraska, Iowa on Saturday, and they're going down to Kansas City on Sundays.
That's got to be a lot of fun. I know the Chiefs fans, they just absolutely are rabid. And Chiefs fans, Packers fans, Bills fans, John, I think those are amongst the most fervent fan bases. Sunday Night Football, Packers, they take on the Bills, Orchard Park. We were just talking about it before you got on, and I just want to get your general take. As a quarterback who played against big-time opponents, you played against Peyton Manning, you've had to be in big spots. If you're Aaron Rodgers, 4-time MVP, Super Bowl champion, your team's under 500, you're going against Buffalo, who is favored now by 11 points in a lot of different shops. What kind of motivation, John, what do you think Aaron's working with right now as a quarterback trying to prepare for this game?
Well, I think he's saying all the right things, and I say that really with truth behind it, because I think he's on his last year, right? I think we all know he's going out this year, Does he want to go out this way? I don't think so. So I think he's just trying to silently or poke these receivers, poke the linemen, whoever's making these mistakes repeatedly. I think he's kind of thinking I've earned the right to say this stuff. He's obviously on his last year. So what I would say is that, no, he's got a lot of motivation to come out firing these last, 12 games or whatever it is. I wouldn't bet against him. I would take the points this week with the plus, with the double-digit points. Just it's kind of that buy low, sell high type stuff. And it's going to be a tough one. They're going to go back out there and to Buffalo this week, and it's, they lose this game, then you start losing a wheel off the car, right? Then you start doing some things you probably shouldn't be doing as far as pressing and trying to make throws that you probably shouldn't be making. I just think they need to go downfield a little more. Honestly, I just think they need to start chucking the ball downfield.
Well, they haven't thrown really past 10 air yards for much of this season. So, John, let me work you into this morning's Twitter poll question. It's at the Sports Carney, because we're going to watch Brady tonight, Thursday Night Football, and you've got a little play on this, which we'll get to in a second. We'll watch Rodgers, of course, Sunday Night Football. So these two quarterbacks, future Hall of Fame quarterbacks, are both in primetime singular spots, which is really fun for fans. Which of these future Hall of Famers is playing worse this year, Brady or Rodgers, in your estimation? I'll give you the poll results here in a second, but where do you lay on this one?
Yeah, I voted. I put Rodgers. And again, I think it comes with, as you and I had tweeted back and forth, there was a whole list of quarterbacks that didn't play in the preseason this year that are completely struggling. He's one of them. And again, you don't have the camaraderie with these young receivers. That would have been my first thing, is to make sure that, hey, wherever I'm drinking ayahuasca at, these guys are drinking it with me, right?
Yes.
That's just, you guys are along for the ride. I'm going out my swan song year, right? I'm going out on the high road, and I'm not going to let you guys drop passes or run routes wrong, right? Double shot of ayahuasca.
So listen, and I think that you brought up a point that Chad and I have been sort of litigating throughout the week and even last week as well. You look at Tom Brady, and I agree with you, Rodgers is playing a little worse. Brady's numbers aren't as bad as it would seem. Brady's just had really bad protection, a lot of his good receivers out. Mike Evans dropped an absolute touchdown last week that would have started the game. Yeah. So here's the thing. Tom Brady, in the middle of a pandemic, took his wide receivers out to a park, basically said, fuck you to his wife. I'm going out and I'm playing football with my friends because that's what I do. I'm still a big kid, and I want to go win championship football things. Okay, this is what I do, and he did, and he got the chemistry. I look at a guy like Patrick Mahomes. I don't know how much time he spent with MVS, Marquez Valdez-Scantling, who was a player here for Green Bay last year. Players or fans in large part thought he was hot trash, just not very good, and didn't work with Rodgers. He seems to be syncing up okay with Mahomes. This feels like a disconnect in some ways, John, of Rodgers' leadership. And again, as a quarterback, what you mentioned, swan song, going out on a high note, wouldn't you want to invest as much of your knowledge, your experience, all the years, the 15 years of being in the National Football League, wouldn't you want to invest that in these young receivers if, in fact, your game, your numbers, and your success will be largely predicated upon how good or bad these guys do?
Absolutely. I think you just mentioned two guys in Mahomes and the other one that actually took time to develop the chemistry, right? And that's probably what was expected from those younger guys too, right? Is to say, hey, let's get some time in with the legend, right? That way we can get on the same page. When that didn't happen, who knows? Those guys might feel a little slighted, right? Man, I might run a wrong route here or there for this guy, right? Screw him.
That's
right.
fair. That's fair.
That does happen, by the way. That does happen. And there's some guy, you don't want to piss off your offensive line either, because he may miss a block and you might get blindsided. I mean, that happens too. Does that not, John? Or has happened?
Call that the ole.
I've seen it happen with my own two eyes. If you're a very
Dave.
Yeah, I'm sure yes. He's a prickly
personality, man. Listen, and this is why, John, but as Chad brings up the slide here, because I want to get into your bets. I want to get into your bets, and we'll start with USC. But this is why when we started off the conversation. Oh, that's okay. When we started off our conversation earlier, I said, look at Russell Wilson having his worst season by far. I mean, not even a comparable season in his career. He's not taking any opportunities to throw shots at his players, at his coaching staff. He's all on me. This is my thing. Tom Brady, similar, all on me. This is my thing. That's where I think that Rodgers, at least to a lot of fans right now, is sort of getting off track. But We'll switch over to your first play again. Follow our Sports Betting Insider on Twitter. I know a lot of you have, but at Johnny Utah, and you can see the Twitter handle on the screen, both as his face is appearing and then here on our graphic. John, we want to start with this college game, USC versus Arizona, or at Arizona. You sent this to me a couple days ago. Let's talk about the number, and then I'll ask you if it's moved, but get into why you bet this game.
Yeah, absolutely. It opened up, I think it was actually 13. I got it at 13.5, minus 13.5 for USC. I think it's actually at 14 right now. This morning I looked. This just game falls into a great situation for me. I won earlier in the year with this same situation. Arizona surrenders over 470 yards on defense, on yards per game on defense. They just gave up 18 yards passing to Michael Penix Jr. Now, that's a name that you got to be careful when you're saying that fast, right? They
Yes.
gave up 516 yards to Michael Penix Jr. And I think USC is far superior in talent, both on both sides of the ball. But when you look at the quarterback position and specifically how this young cat, Michael Penix, diced these guys up, Caleb Williams for USC has 19 touchdowns, only 1 interception. And for me, USC coming off a bye after a steaming loss to Utah 43-42 that kind of derailed their championship season or their championship aspirations. And this comes down to a situation where you're betting on road favorites of minus 13.5 or higher versus home teams allowing that 450 yards or more a game. That's a 63% winning angle. I won on it this year already. I'm hammering it again, USC minus 14.
All right, I like that one a lot. The Trojans, as we talked about even before we got back on to the Sports Carnival, John, were a team that was going to be ascending, and really quickly, Chad, when Lincoln Riley got hired by the USC Trojans, it sent shockwaves through the college football world, because what Lincoln Riley had done in Oklahoma is just, it's almost unmatched. I know that Nick Saban's got the championships, but Lincoln Riley developed a kid that couldn't throw the football, made him an NFL quarterback. We're talking Jalen Hurts. He took this kid, Baker Mayfield, who I didn't think would ever play in the NFL, to a point where he got drafted number 1 in the NFL. What he's going to do with USC, and we can see it already. That one loss, it does hurt him, but boy, this is a really good football team.
No, absolutely. Not only that, I'll touch on that, is that you look at what Oklahoma's going through, right, after losing their head coach, right? You don't really think about how these coaches really play a factor into these teams, but one missing piece off of that team, and maybe a couple. The Caleb Williams transfer obviously hurts you too,
Yeah,
but
that's huge.
But again, it's not like they're bottom feeders of the league now. I mean, they're struggling to find an identity from a leadership position too. So that's a couple points in my book too.
Yeah, I like that play again. The first one that we had was USC minus 14 against Arizona. I'll go ahead and recap these later for folks on the socials, again, at the Sports Carney. But John, this slate that you sent us over last night, this is great. So I put together a parlay card this morning. I'm using the platform BetUS. So if you're on a different platform, you might be able to get a couple of different numbers, but largely they seem to be holding across the different shops. Baltimore at Tampa Bay, that's tonight's game. You've got an underplay on this one, 46. Michigan versus Michigan State, you're taking the Wolverines minus 22.5 points. And then we've got the Patriots going against the Jets, another total play here. Let's start with Thursday Night Football. So Tom Brady right now, by the way, is, he's winning the poll on at the Sports Carney, because everybody's saying Aaron Rodgers is playing worse. So Tom Brady's got a chance to maybe right the ship here and get Tampa Bay back to 500. Baltimore has been really good, leading by 10 points in every single game this season, John. The only other team to do that is the Eagles, but they can't close for whatever reason. So tell us about this underplay and why you're so solid on it.
Yeah, in my opinion, this game either flies way over the 46 into the 60s, or it flies way under the radar, in my opinion. So, I took the under just for a couple reasons, but from a statistical play and a statistical advantage. I think the Bucs look to run the ball tonight versus Baltimore. When you look at what they've done over the course of the year, they have 65% of their rush attempts in the first 2 games of the season. So they've got away from being balanced. I think they're the most unbalanced football team in the NFL when it comes to offensive play calling, run and pass. So I think they get back to that run game this week. Again, you have to keep Lamar Jackson off the field. You've got to keep them from starting fast. And again, if you know they have trouble finishing, that's a positive for you. I look at Tampa's D, 7th in total yards. No marquee downfield threats for Baltimore, right? They're going to do LJ. I think they're the focus. He's the focus for Tampa Bay. Tick-tock the clock is what I wrote in my notes here. I think they're just going to wind this clock down, and it falls into this situation. Bet the under on Thursday night games where the home team Bucks are off a loss where they were favored by 14 points. Or they lost by 14 points and they were favored the game prior. That's an 83% under winner the last 5 years, 6-29 over under. So I like the situational play, but I do like the trend and angle here of an 83% backing for myself.
Yeah, I can't see this game, guys, going over 46 under any stretch or under any circumstance. I'm not sure that Todd Bowles has a real good hold on what this offense could be. Todd Bowles was not a very good offensive coach in New York, and you're starting to see that come back here in Tampa Bay. Baltimore has mentioned, they've had leads, but they will. If they get the lead, they're going to run the football. That's all they will do. Lamar Jackson will be a running back, and they'll use as many of their other players to keep that one under. I like this quite a bit. Now let's go to college again. Michigan minus 22.5 against Michigan State. I actually had to buy this down to 22.5. I paid just a teeny bit of vig, so minus 120 on BetUS. It was sitting at minus 23, but I wanted to stay in line with where you had this game. And it also keeps us at minus 22.5 out of a little hook there. But let's talk about this one because Michigan, again, one of the big powers in the Big Ten, is playing good football this year. Michigan State, a team that's disappointing. We talked about their coach a couple of weeks ago. Had a great start to his career at Michigan State. Now it's looking like that may have been fool's gold, maybe than actual gold. So how are we looking at this one from a betting perspective and from a percentages angle?
Yeah, absolutely. So I've got another statistical trend that kind of goes in our favor here. But when you look at just this series alone, right, this is a big series in the Big Ten, double revenge situation right now for Michigan. And I kind of put that to the side a little bit just because they lost the last 2 years, right? Double revenge. Yeah, bottle that up, box that up. But I think even bigger in this game is Michigan knows that this time last year, they lost against Michigan State. They were still able to get in that college football playoff, but they were the 4 seed against Georgia. So they know that this loss or a loss here or even a hiccup, right? And the pollsters are going to come on you. So I think from eyeball test, right? And I woke up this morning, one of my old coaches, Steve Hagan, quarterback coach at UNLV, he always sends me motivational emails. And he sent me one today, and I'll read it here, guys. It said, I really got bigger fish to fry than Franklin's opinion on halftime tunnel from a game ago. I got bigger fish to fry than worry about whining. I'm winning, not whining.
Whoa.
I'm telling you,
That's
Harbaugh's got his team focused. You got
Yep.
the double revenge situation. He wants to pound Michigan State. And little brother's down a little bit this year. He's going to put the foot on the throat, in my opinion, and he's going to put the gas on these guys. And when you look at ranked teams that are coming off a bye since 2006, and they're at home, it's 149 to 102 against the spread. So it's a 61% winning and that's a big sample size. So I'll take my chances with a big number, but I also like the spot here because of the double revenge, the playoff implications, Harbaugh's focused, and the running game, Michigan.
I don't have any problems with this one. It reminds me a little bit of last week's Alabama matchup. They were minus 21 points. They end up winning by 24. As we let you go here, Johnny, we've got the Patriots, the Jets under 41. Tell us why this one goes under.
Yeah, this is probably not a popular one just based off of the recent trends of these two teams. The over-under history has recently gone over in these two games or for these two teams. But I just look at what the influx of the quarterback position for New England. Their inability to throw the ball downfield, their inability to really score, muster up some points on offense. New England has a top 10 or top 12, I think, defense. The Jets have a top 10 defense. Belichick's record against quarterbacks. Zach Wilson, I think, is probably the worst or second worst in downfield pass attempts and completions, those statistics. So I really do think that with Breece Hall being out, accumulating new running back in, this season, division games, 8-26-1 over under, 76.5 under trend in division games. I'll take the under in this game, under 40.
Yeah, I think I'm going to take the under here too. Mac Jones is going to start for some fucking reason for the Patriots, and nobody can understand why. Zach Wilson's horrible, but that Jets defense, man, Robert Saleh, that's legit. And after what we saw Belichick get exposed like the other night, I love this one. Hey, JD, great having you as always. Mike Byers says great to put a face on the Johnny Denton. I know it's so much fun. And Lisa from Dunkin' Donuts was checking in this morning. You'll love this one, JD. She's like, why does Chad, the producer, look and sound exactly like Patton Oswalt?
Not cool. Not cool, Lisa.
Hey, Ratatouille, go fix me something to eat.
Not cool, man.
JB, until next time, brother, be well.
Thanks, Sean. Take care, Jets. Have a good one.
Preferred Insurance is the official auto, home, business, flood, and life insurance agency of the Sports Carnival, serving folks in La Crosse and surrounding areas with licenses in Wisconsin, Minnesota, and Iowa. As an independent insurance agency, Preferred Insurance is free to find the very best insurance for you, your family, or your business needs. Call my friends at Preferred Insurance today and set up a free consultation. Remember, working with an independent agency means Preferred Insurance works for you, with you, to find the best solutions at the best prices.
Back to the action live from the Trauma Center studios. This is the Sports Carnival. As Bill Watterson once said, reality continues to ruin my life. Here's your host, Dave Carney.
Well, I don't know about Bill Watterson, but I do know about Bill Withers. And what he said was that if you want to just use me, keep on using me up. And I think that you could squeeze this until it's dry. I'm Dave, and that's Chad. Chad, you don't look exactly like Patton Oswalt.
God, that is horrible. You know what?
Great career, though.
Yeah, I've heard that before. And I know Lisa didn't mean that as a negative, right? She probably likes Patton Oswalt, but he's a creepy fat little guy, so that doesn't really make me feel good.
He's played some creepy fat guys. One of my favorite roles of Patton Oswalt on one of our favorite sitcoms of all time, HBO's Veep. Patton Oswalt plays a great character, a congressman's like attaché or something. I don't know, his bag boy, and he's always grabbing this guy Jonah's testicles for some reason. He had a problem with it. Said he went and got chemically castrated, but it's a really funny role.
He actually played in a sports movie. I can't remember the name of it. Basically, he was like a super fan of the Giants.
Okay,
and he ends up causing some kind of issue with their premium pass rusher and derailing. It's actually, and he's like psycho. I think it's called The Fan. I can't remember exactly, but
I have to check that out.
Yeah, you'll have to check that out if you are a sports fan and you do like creepy little fat guys. There you go.
Yeah.
So.
All right. Well, you can also watch that movie Rudy, because that was another one about a creepy little fat guy. Wasn't it The Hobbit that played Rudy in that movie? Right.
Sean Astin.
Yeah.
Sean Astin. Yeah.
So here's the thing that a lot of people don't know, and I've tried to reiterate your story because you had a chance to meet Rudy Rudiger. Doesn't he live in Vegas now or something? Didn't you say he was kind of a tool?
He's kind of a tool. And he kind of got exposed by Joe Montana on an interview Joe Montana was doing. And he's like, I don't remember any of that shit happening in the movie. He goes, players didn't come in and lay their jersey down. He goes, I think they did carry him off the field, but it was kind of like a joke. But you know what? Kudos to Rudy, because he turned it into a career. He became a motivational speaker.
Yep.
So he's like Tony Robbins, and he gets paid to bullshit people. So if you can get paid to bullshit people, if people will actually pay you money to say words to you that you could have figured out on your own, kudos to you. You're smarter than they are. Everybody in that room is stupid. So good for you.
Okay, let's not pull the curtain off of this thing too fast. All right, we're going to start becoming exposing Oz here. All right, let's not go too crazy.
Well, you know what I mean, though. You know what I'm saying.
I do, and this is it's so much fun for me because when I did first move out here, I met a really unfortunate Notre Dame Fighting Irish fan, and it was my favorite thing. Like,
why is he unfortunate? What do you mean?
Oh, Jesus. So many reasons that I wouldn't want to expose or unpack. Okay. Everybody knows who I'm talking about. It's fine.
Okay.
This Notre Dame fan just crazy out of his world, with this stuff. Anyways, I just had the most fun talking shit about Rudy because it's one of those movies that Notre Dame fans cling to like it's a rosary.
It's a great movie.
It's a fine movie. No question about it. I think Mark Wahlberg's, movie Invincible probably was closer to the truth than what Rudy was. But needless to say, it was a fun movie. Oh my God, we might have some breaking news.
Is that true?
I don't know. I'd have to verify this, but if you are watching the screen right now, Morning Wood has just popped up and said David Stearns, the general manager of the Milwaukee Brewers, has stepped down. Chad, for the last 2-3 seasons, there has been a lot of rumors and innuendos that the New York Mets, with their new ownership group, were going to go heavy after David Stearns. And Morning Wood says, it's true. Wow. Boy,
and this just in, David Stern retired from the NBA 6 years ago. Different guy.
Different guy altogether. Rest in peace, David Stern.
And he's also passed away.
Yes. Wow. Sorry. David Stearns from the Brewers. That's interesting.
Good job, Morning Wood. Thank you.
Jason Breacher's popping up, and he's like, wait, what? Exactly. Listen, the Milwaukee Brewers have probably, and I didn't anticipate talking Brewer baseball here, but we're going. Milwaukee Brewer baseball had made 4 consecutive postseason appearances, the longest in the history of the team, okay, until this season where they were going for their 5th. It might have actually reached its max potential with what David Stearns was able to do. Christian Yelich, and I don't know how much you've seen or watched Christian Yelich, Chad, over the last couple of seasons, but this guy was a league MVP a few years back, coming from Miami. And then he hurts his knee, hurts his back, completely falls off. And without him, the Brewers essentially are rudderless. They trade Josh Hader to the Padres. This guy ends up helping the Padres on a nice little postseason run before they fall to the Phillies. Wow, this is big news for the Milwaukee Brewers. Neil Duda's now checking in. He says, never been a Notre Dame fan. It's kind of like cheering for Alabama, Ohio State, the Yankees, or the Cowboys in the 90s. I guess I'm saying I like cheering for teams that don't win championships. Dude, listen, you got to go back to Newt Rockney and all these cats and the Associated Press for when the Fighting Irish were winning national championships. By the way, Notre Dame's never going to win a national championship ever again. That ship has completely sailed.
Correct me if I'm wrong. I do believe they won a national championship in 1987 under Lou Holtz. That's
fair. But that was the AP national championship.
I'm just saying. You don't have to go all the way back to Newt.
No, that's fair. And if you want to, go back to, Lou Holtz, that's okay. Listen, when people vote on a champion, it doesn't feel like a champion. When you have writers, like guys that maybe look closer to Patton Oswalt than they do to actual football players, telling you who the national champion is.
Why do we have to keep piling on the Patton Oswalt thing? I mean, really.
Morning
Woods, this is great. Packers brass is hiring Stearns to pull trades for Green Bay.
Oh, God, that would be something. Woo. So, Chad, boy, this is big news for Brewer fans. I'm telling you, this caught me a little bit off guard. Well, we'll talk about it more tomorrow. Bob Ibeck is going to join the program. For those that are kind of just hopping, thanks for making the Sports Carnival a little portion of your day. And you can catch up with the entire program later on YouTube. You can find it on Facebook, on Twitter. It's replayed all throughout the day. We'll talk to Bob Ibeck about this. Bob is somebody who knows the National League Central Division intimately. As a PR guy for the Cubs for 9 years, he knows this division intimately. We'll talk to Bob tomorrow morning at 8:30 and get his takes on exactly what the resignation of David Stearns means for this Brewers team. Chad, before we go too far, because I know we talked about the Bucks, we got a couple of minutes left. If you've got an opportunity to bring up that slide of Giannis Antetokounmpo's, I just want to, heap some flowers on this dude one more time. You mentioned in the first game of the season, after the Bucks' first game of the season, which they did get a nice win, Giannis only scores 28 points in 28 minutes or so. And you mentioned that he needed to just show some more aggressiveness, become more aggressive. Well, in the second game of the season, Giannis puts up 43. First half of last night's game, the Bucks weren't playing great, and they weren't looking good. Giannis didn't look good either. Had 9 points in the first half. All he does is come out in the second half and drop 34 points, more than Kevin Durant scored, more than Kyrie Irving scored for the entire game. He adds 14 rebounds and 5 assists. And Chad, what we did talk about early this morning, and you brought this up as well, the interesting ways and the nuance that Giannis brings to his game each and every night out, that he is dominating guys. It's not just dunks, it's moves around the basket. His jump shot is improving. It's not a great three-pointer, but his jump shot's improving, and his moves in and around the basket, they seem otherworldly. And for this Bucks team, boy, oh boy, what a great start without 3 rotation players, Pat Connaughton, Chris Middleton, and Joe Ingles, who will be 3 of the 9 guys that get on the court on a nightly basis.
Well, Giannis is a guy that takes his job very seriously, the sport very seriously. He wants to be the best. And you can see that he's really worked on his footwork a lot. I see some drop step moves and some up and under moves that remind me a little bit of Olajuwon, a little Kevin McHale in there. I wouldn't be surprised because he's a student of the game, that he's probably researched this kind of thing and has been working on it. And as you mentioned, not a great 3-point shooter, but last night, I think he missed the first couple, but he nailed one. I think it was either the third or the fourth quarter. It was a big shot. And boy, if he can hone that a little bit more, I mean, he hasn't reached his ceiling yet. That's the scary part about all of this.
Yeah, that really, well, if you're an opponent.
If you're an opponent,
I was going to say it's great for us. Shout out to Bobby Portis again. Another great game. 20 points, 11 boards off the bench. Drew Holiday sort of coming into form, had 15. Bucks up next on Friday, 7 o'clock. They'll be hosting the New York Knickerbockers, who, Chad, I love this Jalen Brunson signing. The Knicks are playing good basketball. This won't be an easy game. But we're going to have a fun show tomorrow. We'll see you at 8 o'clock. Bob Ibeck will join us at 8:30. Chad, terrific job as always. Catch you in the morning, brother.
Hashtag dead ball bitching. See you tomorrow.